Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Sam and we are here talking about Tapforms 5 for Mac and iOS. Now we've got this entry on the forum. Those who have been here before will know that I quite enjoy picking stuff up out of the forum and figuring out how to make it happen and turn that into video form. And we've got another one here from the forum, and this is from Ditiev. I'm sorry if I've just butchered your name. Please leave a comment in the description below if you have seen this and with the correct pronunciation. So they're asking if they want to create a service report. They have an address form which has fields for company, city, street, and I assume a bunch of other entries, and basically they want to create a form which is able to open a list of my existing entries in the address table to pick one and only one entry for copy it into my report form. So I can be sure if I delete the address in my address table, the address in the report won't be deleted too. I tried the link to form function, but that gives me only a link, not a copy, and I'm not able to reduce the selection to only one entry in my report form. How can I solve this? Any help will be welcome. So edit reply here. Basically, we can use link to form field. We put that in there. We link that to the service report. If you've seen the earlier video on forms and link to form fields, you may have an idea of where this one's going. Second step here is he wants a copy of the data. So what we're going to do is we'll set up the two forms. We'll use a link to form field because it's a great tool. It has useful UI support on both the Mac and iOS, and we'll then use a script, and I think we'll start with a form script, and then we'll take that and we'll turn that into a script field as well, and just see what the trade-offs there are for the two of those. So to get started, we're gonna have to create an address form, and this is a new project. We'll call this go to lists, and then we'll create a brand new category for it. Call this one reporting. Done. And now we'll add a new form. Make sure we put in the reporting, and we'll call this one address. Now we're going to create some fields, and we're going to call it company, because we need company as our entry. We have let's just do address line 1, address line 2, and then city, state, country, and we'll do zip code because we're in America. So we'll do zip code, or it could be postal code depending on what you, well, we'll make that a number. Actually, you know what, cancel. We'll leave that as a text because there are some parts of the world that use postal codes that include letters. So let's just keep it as text for the time being. So we've got our basic entry, and we'll put in Apple Inc. 1 infinite loop, Cupertino, California, USA, and I don't know, I think there's 94069 maybe. I forget what the thing is there. 94 something for that part of California. Okay, so we've created this, and we've created an address. We'll do Google as well. Why not? Google Inc. And I think there's 1640 Theater Parkway, Mountain View, California, 94025, I think. We could figure this one out. Oh, that's a country field, not the zip code. USA zip code. Did we get that right on the other one? We did. Okay, sweet. Okay, now we need to do our other form, and this one will be our service report, I guess. I'm quite sure what that was. We already have the field set to reporting, so that's already set. We can close these two up while we're at it. And we will do... I have no idea what this report is actually for. Yeah, inspectors do reports. We'll do a date and time field. We'll call it report date. We're gonna set that as set current date so that it automatically sets that for us. Do we wanna just do a date? Right, we don't wanna. Yes, we wanna change the type. And we're gonna need to do a copy of all of these. Now, what we might do is cheat here a little and show you how you can create a note field in plain text. Disable data detectors, and we'll use that and we'll compose it as well as doing the one-to-one mapping. So we'll do two different ways of mapping this across. And to do that one-to-one mapping, so company address line, city, state, country, zip. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, company address line 1. 2. City, state, country, and zip code. Okay. So now we've created our two forms, and I said we're going to use a link to form field. Now, looking at the description, it looks like maybe he's tried a link to form field already, but he's linked it from the report to the address. Now, when we do that, we get a limited number of options there. We get to create a link that is one-to-many or many-to-many, right? And or a join field type as well, obviously. Now, one-to-many, and when we're creating the link to form field, these are all one-to-many or many-to-many type relationships, right? Which means that they always create a table. Now, for this specific use case, we only want one address. So what we're going to do, let's put that report date up there as well. What we're going to do here is create the link from the address field, which again feels counterintuitive because we want to link the report to the address, not the address to the report. But the reason we do this is because when we do this, it allows us to do our link to form field to the service report, and it allows us to do this one-to-many, and then we can tick this show inverse relationship box. Now what that goes and does is, and we're going to do inspector and report date and save that because we don't actually care about the rest of those fields. What this actually does is creates a field inside service report that is the inverse of that one-to-many field, which means it is a singular relationship, right? So before we have a many relationship, and we can see that it's created, Tapforms has created a table object for us, a table display type, right? But when we go into the inverse, we don't have the table anymore. We have this single item select list, and we can click on our list here. We've got a list of stuff, and I think we can type in like Cupertino, and it'll search for all of the fields for us here, and we can select two different ways. And then we can select the value of the field. Now, this gives us a much more natural interface than perhaps what we could do with scripting. Gives you a view of things. It's controlled again by your standard form settings. So we can go in here and we can set that to 5. And then when we go back, we see 5 lines of the entry. There are some other tricks you can do where you use calculation fields to join fields together. So you could turn it into Cupertino, comma, California, comma, the zip code, and get that sort of a more compact style. But for what we're doing here, this will work just to see what the options are. And of course, when we hit the little tick, we see all of the options here. We can change it over to be Google instead. Right, we got those 2 options. Now, this is a really powerful interface because it allows us to select it. So that solves part of the problem, which is we only want to select one address for the report. Now, if we don't before we move on, if we don't want this field here to be shown inside of our address list, because maybe we don't actually want to be able to go from address to reports, that perhaps doesn't make sense for our use case, we just go in and we hide that field. It doesn't show up. Nice and easy. Now, we've created all of this. The next step is we need to create the script, which is here, to look at the link to form field and copy the data out of it, right? We're going to start with a form script, and we're going to say copy address. And this will be the first step. We'll also create another one that does a script fill. Now in this one, what we're going to do is we're going to look at this placeholder here. We're going to get rid of the placeholder. And what we need to do is get all of these values, and we're going to click ID. Now, when we do that, it creates an entry with all of the field IDs, which is good. And then we want to do another one with all of the address IDs for the same matching entries. And we'll click ID on that. Try that again. ID. Now, if you've noticed, on the left here, it says var company ID field dash bad. Interesting. Here it says var company ID field dash 45E. This is a problem because what it means is we have two different variables essentially with the same name. So what we're going to call this one is ADDR for address, or actually let's just do address underscore. And that will help us distinguish between the two of these, because the next thing we're going to do is map the two across. Now, there are a bunch of different ways that we could do this, but the relatively simple way is we need to get this address object, and we'll double click on that, and it gives us address ID. We need to get the address, which equals record.get field value address ID. And then we need to copy to this record, which is in record, the values from the address record, which we just linked. Now, what we do here is record.set field value, the name of the field that we want to set here, in this case company ID. And what we want to do is copy it from the address where we're going to get field value, the address company ID. And we make sure we have enough brackets there. And what we're going to do is sort of copy and paste all of these, and we'll do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, one for each of the fields we want to copy. And we will copy each of these across. Now, this is not the greatest way of doing this. Let's be clear here that this is kind of ugly, and there are better ways. But this is really straightforward, right? Because what we're doing here is very easy to explain. The top is the list of the fields that we have in our current record, in our service report. And then below is the list of fields we have in the address. And essentially the process here is get the current value out of the entry from the address, and then put that same value into the field in the report. So set the value, get the value. Now we're going to have to save, and we'll use document.save all changes. And let's do that. Let's hit save, Command S, and we'll hit run on that, and let's just see how it goes. Copy address, did nothing, or did it? Let's hit save, and we'll see here that it's gone and it's set all of the values for our fields, company address line, and all of that. Let's change the address to be Google. Now if we run it again, changes all the values over and now points to Google. Change it back to Apple. So that's the example of the script field way of form script way of doing it. Now the advantage of this is that it doesn't do anything until you tell it, right? So we got to click on that. We can put in Google. Doesn't do anything, right? The downside of this is, of course, you have to remember to click the thing to go do it. So let's take what we've got here and we'll copy it and we'll create a script field. And now in that script field, we are going to have copy address. And we're going to paste this script in as is. We're going to hit save on that. And now, when we go back, we can see that it's already populated it with Google. If we change this to be Apple, we can see that it's gone to be Apple. And if we delete it or unlink it, we can see that it is what it is, right? It's not set to anything, and it will remain as is. Now, depending on what you're doing, this may be good enough, but maybe you leave it linked. We'll leave the Apple one link, and we'll say that it is now not one infinite loop, but one Apple way. Now when we go back, we can see that it's already updated this service report to say one Apple way, because that's the value that this address field is. Because the scripting system was watching the change, it saw that the address updated and it propagated that change for us. Let's put this down at the bottom here, even more bottom. There we go. And we'll hit hide because we don't want to see it in our user interface. Now, a simple fix for this is to look at a field that we know is always going to be populated, and that could be company ID. And what we can do here is, oops, cancel, let's not do that, is copy that line and go, if the record has a value, get field value for company ID, just return. Don't do anything. Return to essentially what you were doing. Now, when we do this and we hit save and we've got update set, it should ignore this service report when we change this because the company ID is set. So now if I go back and I set this back to one infinite loop and then go back to our service report, we can see that it says Apple Inc. 1 Apple Way, even though this is now changed. Now, if I delete the value of company and hit enter, you can see that it repopulates company from the address that we have linked, and it resets the line. Now, this is useful because maybe we selected the wrong one. Maybe we really were at Google in Amphitheater Parkway up in Mountain View on the bay there. So what happens when we do this? Well, because of this is keyed off of the company, we just delete that and we can see that all of the values have now changed. Now, I added a note field here, and what we're going to do just quickly is look at what it looks like to do the note field. Now, for the note field, we only need to set one set of IDs, and actually what we'll do is we'll start with a brand new script, and we'll call it copy address to note field. And in this one, what we're going to do, we're going to have a similar approach, but we're only going to set the value of the note field, right? And we're going to still get the address and all of those entries. We'll pop that across. Let's use our indenter and let's care a little bit about indenting. Now, in this situation, what we're going to do is grab all of the values, and for some reason, why? I was hoping it would insert the get field value version, but that's okay. What we need to do is map all of these back to their values, and we will do that by changing this. Instead of using the ID, we'll just do record.getFieldValue, and we'll placeholder that in for a bunch of these lines. So what we're doing is we're going to get rid of the underscore ID bit, and we're just going to replace it. And we're not going to delete everything properly because this is live coding, untested, unscripted. And delete that. And we've now got each of those lines. We also need to put a closing little bracket at the end here when we do that change. What this is now going to do is, instead of storing the ID in the variable, we're just going to directly pull the value of each of these fields out of the record and into a temporary variable. And the reason we're going to do that is I'm going to show you how to use, and each of these should actually be address, because we want to pull out the address value for these. So the first line gets us the address record that we want to work with. Then each of these lines actually needs to reference the address field. And then what we're going to do is set field value for the note, and we're going to use the backtick, because what the backtick does is it's a template string. It allows us to create formatted strings using variables. So what we'll do is company, address line 1, address line 2, city, comma, state, comma, we'll just put the zip code in there, no comma needed, and then country. And what this has done is it's templated it out. Now, I'm gonna save this. Nope, we're gonna do one more thing. We have to make sure that we save all changes inside the script. We're gonna save this and run, see how it goes. And what we're gonna do is hopefully populate this note field. And let's actually run this in the editor, make sure that we don't get any errors. No errors, that's good. And now when we have a look, we have this, but it says undefined, which is not quite what we want. Now it's done that because, well, the value of address line 2 is not set. right? And this is a bit of a limitation of this approach. Now, the correct way of doing this would be to double check each of these and set them to a different value. And what we'll do is just a very quick example of that, which is, actually, I have a better idea. What we're going to do is a little more intelligent. We're going to build a full-blown record formatter. So let's have a look at that. So what we want to do is have this multi-line structure. Some lines have multiple entries, which is cool, and some are just a single line. And in the case of address line 2, it's not set. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new variable called lines. And what we're going to do is, and this is with a little square bracket, an array, which means essentially a list of things. And the list in this case is going to be strings. So if we have a company set, lines.append, is it append or lines.push company? If address line 1, lines.push address line 1, if address line 2, line 2, if now we have the fun one, which is city state thing. So let's just do while we're here, if country lines.push country, and we'll save this because we need to do something useful with it. So we'll just put that there with a comment. 2 slashes at the start of the line says that this line is a comment, and we'll do lines.join with a new line. /n is a special character that says create a new line, and then we just delete this stuff. And what we've done here is created a variable for each of the elements, and each of the lines we want, we add in. And we've got a placeholder here because we still need to take care of city, state, and zip. But we will hit run on that, make sure that we don't get an error. Let's hit save. What we should expect to see is the company, the address line 1, and the country, because we took out the city, state, zip code, and we'll put that back in. Now what we're going to do here is a little subline, and if subline lines.push subline. No, actually I don't like that idea. Okay, if we have a city, if we have a state, then we do subline equals, and we'll keep that template variable there, city, comma, state. If we don't else, if we only have, if we have a state, then let's add in the state. And last but not least, if we have the zip code, let's do subline equals space, then the zip code. And lines.push subline, if subline. So if we have a value for it, let's do that. And let's walk back through what we've just written here. So we've created a new variable called subline. We're checking if there's a city and a state, then we want to put in city comma state. Otherwise, let's do an else. We just want to put in the city. If there isn't a city and there is a state, we want to put in the state. And then if there is a zip code, we want to put the zip code in. Then if we did get a value for all of this, because otherwise it would be empty, we want to put that into our array. Now, the plus syntax here is an append, so it's joining these two strings together. Think of it like if we had pieces of text, we're essentially copying and pasting them together with the little plus signs. Let's hit run on that, make sure we don't have any errors, and see what it looks like. Dollar state. I think I forgot to escape something probably. Let's have a look at that. We did. We forgot to put that in curly braces. So let's hit that, hit save, run, save again, and we can see we have that, and you know what? Let's just write CA. It's much neater. And we already have this, so this state isn't going to change, which is what we expect. And then if we run this form script, we can see that this now updates properly. So that gives us a copy. This is kind of useful in my mind because it's already pre-formatted. If we then go and create a layout with this in here, we can do inspector. Let's move that a little bit further over. Let's fix this up because the editor pushed it over because Apple likes to do that. And if we've got our note field, we can just put that. Try that again. Where's my note field? There we go. We can put our note field up here with an address, and maybe there's a report. But that gives us an idea of roughly how we could add that there, and my OCD wants me to put that over there, and we can turn that off and expand that so that it fits. Maybe there we go. That goes to there, that goes to there, and this should go all the way to here. Try again. I could be here all night playing with this. So that gives us some idea of what the value of pre-composing this note field is automatically, and obviously we can go back in to tap forms and edit this any way we like. If we want to add any annotations, if there's any errors, if there's any issues, this won't change unless of course we run our form script that we've created here in this video. Now that gives you an idea of how you can use link to form field to create a link between two records. And obviously the other advantage of this is that now when I go into here, if I want to, we can go find all of the reports associated with a particular, oops, wrong one, hyphen. Find all of the reports associated with a particular address. If that's not valuable for you, obviously we can tick that hide field button, but it allows you to go from an address to all of the reports for that address, which I still think is a pretty powerful feature. You still have a copy of this entry in all of these addresses. Personally, I would encourage you to create a separate form for the company, and then actually allow you to link multiple addresses to a given company, and maybe have a filter for active as a checkbox, and we'll just call it active. And then what you can do is you can just create a filter here for active is yes, and we'll just hit save on that, and it'll, did I not? There we go. It'll give you just the active addresses as opposed to giving you all of the addresses. So you can use the search feature to sort of narrow things down and see where it's at. Hopefully this has covered and answered the question, and this has been an informative video for you. If this was an interesting video for you, please click the like button. If there was something that you had a question about, leave a comment below, and in a somewhat random fashion I upload these videos, again based on what I see on the forums mostly, so hit that subscribe button so that you see my next videos. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.